My name is Shawn Sima. I'm the impact director for a nonprofit called Who We Play For. And my story is retired Air Force physician's assistant. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and now I live down in Merritt Island, Florida, which is a suburb of Melbourne. And retired from the Air Force in 2012. And in 2016, my seemingly, super healthy athlete daughter, Lexi, who never had a medical problem, went to the gym one night after leaving a softball game to get ready for cheer tryouts. And within, 30 seconds of getting on the treadmill, she suffered sudden cardiac arrest. And she was in a gym, thankfully. Usually she ran outside. And running behind her that night was also another retired guy from the Air Force who worked in one of the space companies. And he was forced to take CPR. It was a requirement. He's not medical. But 2 weeks before my daughter collapsed in front of him, he had taken CPR. The AED that was hanging on the wall up to about 3 weeks before my daughter collapsed had a dead battery and pads in it. And, as the good Lord would have it, the gym owner noticed that the green light wasn't blinking on the machine, and he changed out the battery and pads. And that night, a bunch of non-medical people worked together to save my daughter's life. It was 15 minutes before the ambulance got there, and they had a pulse, and she was breathing literally within about 3 to 5 minutes. And, had it not been for those bystanders, this would be a different story. And she was life flighted to Orlando. She was put in a medically induced coma, and we waited for 3 days. Her cardiologist told us if she woke up and her brain was whole, that she didn't have any significant brain damage, that before she walked out of the hospital, she would need to have an implanted defibrillator pacemaker. And that's exactly what happened. And over those 3 days, he sort of put us on this mission. I'm someone that's done thousands, I should say, of school physicals on kids. Mm-hmm. And I realized until my own daughter collapsed, that one, I wasn't really doing anything to protect their hearts. And two, that CPR and AEDs are essential everywhere. And that's sort of what opened our eyes. And, we made a lot of deals with God that night. My daughter is 1 out of 10 that survived sudden cardiac arrest. And he answered our prayers, and that put us on the mission to pay it forward and give, other families a chance to have a Lexi Sima story.
So then that experience led you to meet Who We Play For. Your paths crossed there?
Yeah, so Who We Play For actually about 9 years before Lexi went down, Who We Play For was started in honor of a boy named Rafe Macaron, who was also from the same area as us. And he too was a super athlete, never had one medical problem, and was a superstar soccer player at Cocoa Beach High School. And they were running for warm-ups, and he wasn't even running all that hard, but he collapsed and had sudden cardiac arrest. His story went the exact opposite of Lexi. There was really nobody there that knew CPR. The AED was locked up in the administrative building. This was after school hours. And so he laid there for 20 minutes. The ambulance on its way got stuck in mud. And by the time they got there, 20 minutes had passed. And they actually were able to shock his heart back. But his brain had been too long without oxygen. And he died. He died in the same hospital that my daughter was saved in. And he's all started Who We Play For in his honor. And we're one of the biggest heart screening nonprofits in the United States. And we've saved over 250 kids. We have the first 9 counties in America to require heart screenings with an EKG for athletes to play sports. And our county was the first. And, since that requirement came in about 2019, so I guess it's almost 4 years ago, we have about 140 kids who's had their lives saved with these heart screening exams, after they passed their physicals.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a big milestone.
Yeah, it's very, very humbling to be on this path, if you will, to really help other kids and really parents that think their kids are safe, when they walk out of the doctor's office from folks like me. We do the best we can in the clinic, but I've just learned the hard way that the stethoscope is not going to catch most things. I won't even say some things. Most things a stethoscope is not going to catch, and that's why we hear about these kids that keep passing away.
Absolutely. So what advice do you have for those parents whose kids are out there seemingly healthy playing athletics?
Yeah, coming from a father of a sudden cardiac arrest victim, and also as a clinician who's done these physicals, I would really fight. One, I would fight for an ECG or an EKG. They're the same thing. It's just, Germany calls it EKG. We call it ECG. But I would fight to get my kid an ECG heart screen. And before I dropped my kid off anywhere, especially school or at a sporting event, I would get out of the car and I would go find out who knows CPR and where is the AED. Because it's not if, but when. On average, approximately 20 kids a day drop dead in our country from sudden cardiac arrest. And if the coach is not ready and the AED is not available, it's not going to be a good outcome. So that would be my biggest pieces of advice is, one, do everything you can to prevent it and identify it. But two, when it does happen, you want to have people that are ready to jump into action, because we know you have 3 to 5 minutes to really do something to give someone the best chance at survival. And, the studies show, especially in young kids, that if you can get an AED on them within 3 minutes, there's a 90% chance, 89.6 blah, blah, but basically a 90% chance that kid is going to get off the ground and walk out of the hospital like my daughter did. And right now the average is 1 out of 10. So only 1 out of 10 kids survive sudden cardiac arrest, and we have to do better.
Absolutely. It's all about learning what to do and having accessibility to the devices that you need. You recently went to Washington, D.C., rallying for accessibility for AEDs in schools. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a crazy thing about that law is we actually started that bill about 4 years ago. That was initially introduced by a congressman by the name of Al Lawson from Jacksonville, Florida. And then on the Republican side, Bill Posey, who is our congressman in Brevard County, Florida. And it turned out that Congressman Lawson lost his election. And then another lady from down in Miami took it up on the Democrat side. And then Damar Hamlin happened, and that just put us on a rocket ship. Now, the American Heart Association took over the bill. We have all of the professional sports leagues are endorsers on the bill. Damar Hamlin, he is the ray of sunshine, if you will, in the United States. And really introduced and opened a lot of eyes to sudden cardiac arrest. So we were proud, the AHA took it. Damar Hamlin has a lot to do with it, but we were proud to go to Washington, D.C. and stand next to him, the CEO of the American Heart Association, Several congressmen were there. The Senate Majority Leader was there, Chuck Schumer, and we are going to pass this law. And it's amazing to think that that law started in our little podunk town of Cocoa Beach. And 3 weeks ago, we were standing in a room with people that it was not even believable that we were in that room. But that's, going to be probably the most life-saving law that's ever passed in our country. You all know that there's only 17 states in the U.S. that have any kind of AED law for their schools. And this is the leading cause of death on school campus. And we're not ready. So, having this money available for schools to be able to get grants and to reach out, to be able to buy AEDs and protect their students, there's nothing, the stat is 1 out of 25 U.S. schools is going to have somebody drop dead on their campus. And to have only 17 states with any kind of legislation is just mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. And really what this law is going to do, there's a lot of things in that law, but this is huge for the sudden cardiac arrest movement. And really, ultimately, that movement is about giving kids a chance at life. Not only does it talk about money for AEDs, but it talks about emergency response plans in schools. It introduces what we do, the heart screening program, to athletic departments. Believe it or not, there's not even a database that you can really trust to catch all of the, the sudden cardiac arrests in our country. So this bill also, has language in there for that too. So it's a really robust bill, and we're just so proud, to be a part of it. When I think of what happened to my daughter, and then the flash forward now, there's no question. And luckily for us, my daughter survived. But there's no question on why we were put on this mission. And it's really, really surreal to be a part of it and to meet up with companies like you that support us and carry us and help us do what we do. Money is always an issue, but to have partners like you all and several others in different arenas is just huge for this movement.
Absolutely. You guys are doing a beautiful thing for the whole industry. It's just amazing what you guys are doing out there rallying. Is there any way that we and our viewers can help in your mission? Is there any way we can support you guys?
Yes, I need everybody watching this, no matter what town you live in. You have a congressman, a U.S. congressman, and you have a U.S. senator. Every state has 2, as we know. So anybody who's watching this and sees this, I need you to please either pick up the phone or send your representative, your congressperson or senator, a quick email for him to support and even co-sponsor, the Access to AED Act. It's bipartisan. There's no politics in this on, the left or the right. Everybody agrees that this is one of the most important things that we can do to protect our children. This is a feel-good bill. There should be no arguing, political this and political that. This is a feel-good bill that is truly going to save lives. There's nothing that they can pass that will save lives like this, especially of our most precious resource, and it's our children. Mm-hmm. And please, if you heard nothing, I know I talk a lot, but please help us by reaching out to your local, congressmen and senators to support this at the federal level.
Amazing. Thank you so much for speaking with me today and sharing your experience and what you're doing now in the community. It's amazing what you're doing, and we hope we can support you in any way.
God bless, and thank you very much for all you guys do and for helping us.